Hi, I'm Carol Titus, president of Golden Poppy Inc., and I have Kelly Gate. She is our very first pilot teacher to test out Unicorn Blue School with her third grade class. And I'm really thrilled that we got to work with her. She's a phenomenal person and teacher, and her kids are great. And I just wanted to be able to share with folks what your experience was, Kelly. And I thought it would be good just to give people a briefing on, what we kind of accomplished. And of course, anybody can have the white paper if they ask for it. But I did kind of want to skip over some of the stuff that we did and just kind of get into the results because we had phenomenal results across the board for all your class. And I just wanted you to kind of talk about that and then show people some of the charts that we had. Basically, we did 4 tests, summative one, formative two, summative two, and this represents the improvement students made from the first summative to the first formative, and basically the first touch of our lab. So, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So, as you can see on the screen, we have 18 students represented from various socioeconomic backgrounds and genders and walks of life. And we noticed that even some of our most struggling students made significant progress, as you can see by many of those higher double digit percentages there for a 10-day pilot of implementation. That was tremendous growth. The program was very engaging, from the virtual reality to the labs. The book that accompanies the program was also very interesting for the students and kind of wove everything together, and at the same time also incorporated some literary elements like plot, which continue to strengthen the STEM skills that they were able to experience in the labs and through the scavenger hunt in our garden.
Phenomenal. Yeah, I was just so happy to see all the progress. And in particular, like three of the kids that scored the lowest came right up and
Yes,
are on par now with their peers. And that brought a lot of joy to my heart. I'm sure it did to you too. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I love to see that beautiful improvement. And then this chart just shows the improvement made from the first lab to their best lab because they
Right.
went. Um,
And even for that short amount of time, had a limited number of labs, but that was good growth for them as they experienced the labs more, which would reiterate, if in a longer time span, if they were able to practice more often in a longer time frame, we would see probably more significant gain.
exactly, yeah. It's frequency, duration, and intensity, and they really get all three of those here. Um, and it's lovely to see, like, even one of those levers pushes the bar and pushes the progress and impacts the kids really positively. And, and then this was the class average of by assessment. So this is the summative, formative one and two, and then the final. So you can see the great jump here with Kelly in the classroom
Yeah.
have doubled basically.
Yes.
And then, we did our little gap analysis and got an extra 10, but overall, the kids, um, at
Made
least
good
20.
growth. Yes, made good growth for the amount of time when you're considering the time frame. It was a nice increase.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that. Yeah, and like I was mentioning before, like the three lowest did phenomenally well.
Yes,
Of course, they had
absolutely.
more improvement because they had more to go, but it's just lovely to see it. It's
Yes.
just lovely because it's more meaningful in a sense, and they had to work hard to get it.
Yes.
Okay, and then this is all our different labs. you want to talk about like what maybe were some of the favorite labs or what you thought, the kids enjoyed or where they were, or actually how you did your management. Because you did like kids in batches and then you had,
Yes.
can you talk about
Yes.
that?
Yes, we had worked together to divide those into three different groups. And on some days, we would have the room, and maybe, one group would go to the back of the room, and we had student leaders. Some of the students who really took to the program a little faster, we allowed them to be cooperative learning leaders within those groups and kind of help students if they were, unfamiliar. Like I said, this is a 10-day window, so it's not like they had a massive amount of experience with the program. So the ones that took kind of a leadership role there were able to help some of the ones with less experience navigate and learn how to use the system. And you can see I'm looking at all of this data here, and it looks like, 50% and above percentages on a variety of different labs. I think they really enjoyed the astrophysics and the thermodynamics and plasma, the electricity labs, the spectrum are some of the ones that stand out to me. I know that we had used a supplemental video to help them on their flight. We called that flight school, and that allowed them to strengthen their pet flight scores. You can see that up there from 51% to 76%. And then also, we had a couple of other labs that we hit, I believe it was in the scientist area, to go back and strengthen some of these labs here that initially were a little bit lower. You can see them coming up in the orange area.
Yeah, that was amazing to me. I mean, as they learned, went through the little learning curve they had to, figure out how to use the medium, because they are in a simulation and they are moving. It was just amazing to me to see like this is like a first pass,
Yes,
um,
yes,
on these, and they just this is an average too. So a lot of the kids were getting hundreds,
yes.
um, very rapidly.
Yes,
So
and referring back to those student leaders that you were asking about earlier, it was encouraging to see some of those who were getting the 100% that were assisting other kids navigating. They would, if they missed a question or two, they would encourage their peer by saying, go back and redo that lab, and let's see if you can get that question right this time because you missed one or two. Let's see if you can master it. So that peer challenge there, that peer leader trying to encourage them to go back and repeat the lab again to increase their success was a good tool to use.
I love that. I love, yeah, and that helps them actually, and
Yes.
it helps the whole group.
Yes, not just the student who needed the refresher, but the student leading just further enforced their, automaticity and knowing how to utilize the program for learning to the maximum benefit. Yeah.
I would have loved to see that in action. That's amazing. And then you want to talk a little bit about some of this anecdotal evidence, Kelly? That
Yes, yes. In the feedback section, you can see it says multimodal exposure. So, as I alluded to at the beginning of our video today, we talked about experiencing the program through labs, also virtual reality, our scavenger hunts outside, also the small chapter book that accompanied the program allowed us to not only tap into reasoning, but the characters and tying into the emotions. It just helped them with their memory and their understanding of the next gen science standards. And then also being able to express themselves, such as like when I think about being in the game, they enjoyed the challenges of trying to move through the virtual reality to becoming a unicorn. And they talked about in the scavenger hunt outside, one of the artifacts they were able to find in their scavenger hunt were these little horns, these unicorn horns, and they would put them on, and they were kind of just galloping through the garden, and the imaginative creative side of the kids was able to come out in that physicality of acting out that role play there. So that was a great child appropriate expression of joy through those opportunities. And then the feedback that we were able to get on the dashboard also allowed for less work on my side of things as a teacher in tracking progress because it was all calculated for me within the the program. When I would get the dashboard reports, I could glance at that and see mastery or if students needed to, to work further on their labs. Um, I think that the book itself, the illustrations, they really enjoyed the book, and also learning about different locations in the United States where the setting was happening. So that created curiosity, and we could, go online and maybe further look up facts about that location. So it was very cross curricular. And if you don't mind, scroll down for me a little bit more. I want to see what else we added on the bottom of our feedback there. Well, we were talking about cost savings and also the fact that we got over 1,600 records in that short amount of time. Like we said before, the pilot was a 10-day pilot, and being able to try to get in, an hour or two a day in there allowed for us to collect a lot of information on our students in the labs that they were mastering. And of course, through this pilot, we were able to save money and resources and time. And so, all in all, it benefited the students, and it also helped, the educator in all the time and energy and resources that it was able to save for us.
Yeah, no, I'm so, it's just really a dream come true that I got to work with you and your beautiful students, but it just had such a great outcome for you and your students. So I'm really, really happy to be able to have you say that in your own words, because it means so much more when it comes from uh, an educator of your level. So yeah,
I appreciate that, and the kids appreciate the opportunity. We talked about that periodically through the whole grant implementation that they were being evaluators and being kind of like the guinea pigs testing this program and being able to offer their insight and opinions on how they felt in the different stages of the program. And as we shared with video snippets and other feedback, we were able to not only see from the teacher's standpoint the impact, but also the impact on the students through that feedback.
yeah, I love seeing the kids like blossom like that and little pennies drop when they figure it out, because um, that's what gaming is in a sense. In its essence, it's all problem solving. Whether you're thwarting a bully or you're figuring out how to navigate between scenes, it's really great problem solving for them, and that really ups the engagement and
Hmm.
um, I think brings forward that the engagement's really, really important to having a successful pilot like this as well, and of course their love for their future. um, yeah, so
I think it's a good, by having that dialogue with students about talking about how they're evaluating the program and having the opportunity to give feedback. It even models, even at this early age of third grade, that, we have a free enterprise system in the United States. And it allowed them to know that there was a creator, of this, curriculum like yourself pursuing, your own goals as a creator, and they had a part in telling you what they, liked about it as you make your own personal goals. They grow up too as adults one day and can pursue their own goals and dreams, and how that, is fostered through a system like this. I don't think they're too young to even have those conversations with them, about that there's this person who's created, this game and this whole curriculum, and that's part of making a product, the testing and getting feedback and looking at the data and seeing the success. I think those are important conversations to have with even children because, they can reflect back on that as they grow older that, they have those opportunities here in our country to be able to be creators and have free enterprise and have business and impact, like your model here is having an impact on education, and how people learn their science standards and mathematics, and tying it back in with, language arts through literature. And so I think I think it's a great opportunity to make some connections to things that maybe in the past we haven't seen as, common, virtual reality per se, in a classroom setting, how it can be woven in and be a successful tool.
No, thank you so much, Kelly, for doing that, because I want that, to I want the kids this to open up their mind. The mind's like a parachute; it doesn't work unless it's open. And I'm hoping that this is what spurs that creativity and imagination, that they can live the dream that they dream,
Right.
um, and doggedly pursue it, and don't give up
Right.
when things go wrong, and just calmly think it through, and you can do it. um,
Right. Right. That perseverance.
exactly. And then, yeah, just a brief, to close, I think it was great to hear their responses after playing the game, and I really love hearing all your um, uh, observations of the joy that they had and expressed. And I, yeah, I love seeing the kids happy and
Yes,
playing.
I think that was really evident in the video in the school garden, the enthusiasm as they would run after solving the riddle, and finding something in nature that corresponded with what they figured out in the riddle, and then opening the bag to discover, what they, were going to receive from solving that riddle, and then having their own little pouch to put their little collection of items in. And they really enjoyed that opportunity. And like I said, the video was very reflective of the excitement and engagement. That was definitely a good component there to kind of tie it all in together. And from looking at it from a technology standpoint to reality, virtually looking at it and then connecting it to the real world. It was a nice connection there.
I love it because the characters come to life, and the kids' imagination, they see the characters in the real world. And that's kind of one of the things I remember when I had some of my, math classes in linear algebra. It was like, wow, it opens up your eyes to a new lens of the world that you haven't seen before. And it's just, that's why I love education, and, the way it, not only lifts the academic part of yourself, but your spirit.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah. Um,
And then,
so
that feedback video that you've got some little snippets there. I love the fact that the one student said everything. He really couldn't narrow it down to just one thing, and that's kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier. I think the multimodal, aspect of this program is what makes it stand out because of, you're tying in the technology, you're tying in the virtual reality, you're tying in the real world, you're tying in literature, with the book, and the science and the math are so heavily into the labs that, all of it is so comprehensive.
that's a phenomenal synopsis of what we were doing. And again, I appreciate your time and commitment to making this a success. It's a, and for your students' success. So thanks so much, Kelly, for everything. And then, of course, if anybody has any additional questions, you can reach out to us at info@goldenpuppy.net. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you.